Many are responding with outrage after California lawmakers have just passed Assembly Bill 1840, paving the way for undocumented immigrants to receive up to $150,000 in taxpayer funded down payments for home purchases. There's another article on this from news18.com. It says dangerous message. California lawmakers rebuked after approving $150,000 handout to illegal immigrant homebuyers. The author of this bill, California Assemblyman Joaquin Arambula, a Democrat, refused calls to step down in 2019 after he was arrested and charged with child cruelty. The News 18 article says supporters of the bill, including its author, Assemblyman Joaquin Arambula, argue that it promotes economic stability and home ownership for all residents, regardless of immigration status. Quote, the social and economic benefits of home ownership should be available to everyone, Arambula stated. He argued that excluding undocumented individuals from housing initiatives perpetuates inequality and limits access to financial stability. They say California's controversial bill would make the U.S. state the first in the country to offer down payment assistance to undocumented immigrants seeking to buy homes. Republican Assemblywoman Kate Sanchez argued that migrants crossing the border illegally, quote, look to California's current policies like a giant welcome sign. She also said, quote, welcome to California, where illegal immigrants get free healthcare, free food, and now a free home with 0% down. This is not rocket science. If you're giving out free stuff, more people are going to come. Sanchez also pointed out on X that the Assembly approved the home loan bill at a point in time when 1 million Californians live in deep poverty and 180,000 are homeless. She said this is an unbelievable betrayal to the citizens of this state. Adding to this, California Senate Minority Leader Brian W. Jones questioned the giveaway to undocumented migrants when the state is suffering from an affordability crisis. He said, quote, many Californians, some who have been here for generations, can't afford to buy a house in their home state thanks to Democrats' unsustainable economic policies. So many legal residents not able to afford a home. Should we really be giving scarce cash assistance to immigrants here illegally? The bill has faced significant backlash from California Republicans who argue it's a handout that prioritizes undocumented immigrants over citizens. Assembly Republican leader James Gallagher criticized the measure, claiming it would exacerbate both the housing crisis and the ongoing border crisis. Quote, giving taxpayer-funded housing subsidies to illegal immigrants will drive costs even higher and encourage more chaos at the border. Republican State Senator Brian W. Jones added on Twitter, quote, California Democrats just approved $0 down home loans for illegal immigrants. This unfair policy sends a dangerous message. Come here illegally and claim your $150,000 home loan. The News 18 article concludes saying critics point out that California is grappling with a $46 billion budget deficit and has already cut funding for various housing and homelessness programs. They argue that expanding the home loan program to include undocumented immigrants could worsen the state's financial situation. The bill has sparked heated debate throughout its legislative journey, with some Democrats expressing reservations about its implications. Despite the opposition, proponents argue that making home ownership accessible to undocumented immigrants can bolster local communities and contribute to the overall vitality of California. More on this story at the California Globe. They say since being introduced earlier this year, Assembly Bill 1840 has been one of the most highly debated bills of the year. Arambula has said that many in the state have been denied the program despite paying taxes, and that housing needs to be more accessible to everyone. Meanwhile, Republicans and moderate Democrats have said that the bill would increase costs, that there is no money left to fund such an expansion, and that the money would still be going to people who entered the country illegally and broke the law, even if they have a taxpayer ID number, potentially invalidating the law in court, should it be signed. In addition, as the Globe noted on Monday, the bill's sponsor, the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights, receives tens of millions a year in government grants and barely makes contributions to immigrants, simply wanting taxpayers to foot the bill instead. More from that previous article here, where they say the bill's sponsor is the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights, which says, quote, Assembly Bill 1840 would ensure immigration status is not a barrier when accessing housing services, and ensuring documentation status does not preclude an individual from accessing housing support and resources, removes confusion, and encourages undocumented Californians to access critical support services that allow them to achieve housing stability. Article says that the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights lists that it received over $33 million in government grants on its 2023 IRS Form 990, and over $10 million in all other contributions, gifts, grants, and similar amounts not included above, for a grand total of over $44 million in a single year. $44.7 million in government grants and contributions that the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights takes in, but is advocating for California's taxpayers to fork over $1 billion per year for first-time illegal immigrant homebuyers. Why don't California's Democrats ask the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights provide the down payments for illegal immigrants when accessing housing services? This isn't something California taxpayers should be on the hook for, especially with a huge budget deficit, and especially when California's own kids can't even afford to buy homes. Notably, the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights gives away $1,100,000 in the form of grants and other assistance to domestic organizations and domestic governments, $11,000 to grants and other assistance to domestic individuals. They gave away $1.142 million. They spend $391,000 on compensation of current officers, directors, trustees, and key employees. For 2 employees, over $1.4 million on other employee benefits, and over $11 million on other salaries and wages. They spend over $1.1 million on office expenses. The Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights spends more on office expenses than it gives away. The grand total functional expenses for the Coalition of Humane Immigrant Rights is over $20 million. The Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights has over $24 million in total assets. Even after expenses, the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights had over $31 million net assets or fund balances at end of year. If the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights cares so much about ensuring immigration status is not a barrier when accessing housing services, they should think about using their net assets and fund balances to help illegal immigrants purchase homes. Otherwise, someone might wonder why the government is sending them over $33 million in government grants annually. Please leave a comment and tell me what you think about this latest update. If you could give this video a thumbs up, remember to click the like button, that's greatly appreciated, and make sure that you're subscribed to the channel. I will follow up soon. Thanks again.